There are seasons in life when we walk without understanding why the path must twist and turn so much. A loss, a crisis, an unexpected turn, and we find ourselves asking, why is this happening to me? But Buddhism teaches that nothing is random. Every event, whether gentle or painful, is part of the great flow of cause and effect, where every seed sown in the past blooms in the present. When we look at life through the eyes of ignorance, we see chaos, but when we look with wisdom, we see order hidden beneath that chaos. Life is not a series of coincidences, but a delicate symphony between cause and condition. Every occurrence, no matter how small, is arranged to teach us something. A person's departure is not meant to make us suffer, but to remind us to learn detachment. A closed door is not an ending, but an invitation to open another path. Nothing happens to punish us, it happens to awaken us. The problem is not that life is cruel, but that we have not yet seen the lesson hidden within what seems meaningless. The Buddha once said, "Everything that comes to you is your teacher." So instead of asking, why, ask, what is this trying to teach me? For the moment we change the question, we change our life. From the position of a victim, we become a student of the universe, opening ourselves to every experience, both the smiles and the wounds. The instant we stop resisting the flow of life, we begin to see the deeper meaning in every step. Perhaps today, you stand in the middle of a storm, unable to see the way out, but trust that within every upheaval lies a sacred order. Everything happens at the right time, with the right people, under the right circumstances, to bring us closer to awakening. Nothing is random, only misunderstood. And when you pause, take a deep breath, and widen your vision, you will see that every loss, every mistake, every wrong turn is a perfect part of the journey back to yourself. Suffering is something no one can escape, yet few truly understand its purpose. Buddhism does not view suffering as punishment, but as a disguised teacher. Every pain arrives not to break us, but to strip away the old layers and open us to a deeper level of awareness. When life runs smoothly, we easily fall asleep in comfort. Only when pain touches us does the mind begin to awaken. Like fire testing, gold adversity burns away all that is false, revealing what is pure within us. For suffering does not come to make us weaker, but to make us more real. What truly makes us suffer is not the pain itself, but the way we face it. When we deny it, it clings tighter. When we resist, it grows stronger. But when we observe suffering with a calm, non-judging mind, we discover that it carries within it a seed of wisdom. Every hardship teaches patience. Every loss reveals the truth of impermanence. Every wound shows how vast our capacity for compassion can be. That is transformation, when pain ceases to be a burden and becomes the gateway to freedom. The story of the teacher and the handful of salt illustrates this truth beautifully. When a student complained that his life was too bitter, the teacher told him to dissolve a handful of salt into a cup of water and drink. It was unbearably bitter. Then he led the student to a lake, poured the same salt into it, and asked him to drink again. The water was still salty, but its bitterness had vanished into vastness. The teacher said, "The salt is the same, only the vessel has changed. If you wish to suffer less, expand your heart." The suffering of life is no different from that handful of salt. It cannot be erased, only diluted by compassion and broader vision. When we confine ourselves within the narrow boundaries of ego, every wound feels suffocating. But when we look at life through an open heart, the pain remains, yet it loses its power. Each time we expand our capacity to hold, we enlarge the vessel within us, allowing the salt of life to dissolve into the vast lake of understanding. So instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" For in the moment you change the question, you change your stance from a sufferer to a learner. And when you learn to view pain through the eyes of wisdom, you realize that every wound is a doorway, and beyond that doorway always lies growth. Human beings often long for a peaceful life, one without turmoil, without pain. Yet Buddhism teaches that without chaos there can be no transformation. It is the storms that awaken us, and the breaking that reveals our true nature. When all goes well, we cling to habit. But when life throws us into disruption, we are forced to grow. Without crisis, there is no awakening. Without cracks, light cannot enter. Every upheaval in life is in truth a key opening the door to change. Consider a seed if it were to remain resting on the surface of the earth, basking in sunlight and wind, it would stay forever a seed. Only when buried in darkness, pressed by the weight of the soil and split open from within, does life begin to sprout. So it is with us. We must go through our own breaking to understand what it means to grow. Like fire refining, steel hardship does not destroy us. It tempers us, making us stronger and more refined. The Buddha once told a story about a butterfly. A disciple saw a butterfly struggling to break free from its cocoon. Out of compassion, he tore open the cocoon to help it. The butterfly did emerge, but with weak wings, unable to fly. The teacher said, "It is the struggle in darkness that strengthens its wings. Without that effort, it would never have learned to fly." Our lives are the same. If we are shielded from challenge, if we never collide with hardship, we will never be strong enough to lift ourselves. Suffering is not the enemy, it is the soul's exercise. Chaos does not come to make us lost, but to push us out of the comfort zones we mistake for peace, but are truly stagnation. Every crisis is a wake-up call, urging us to look within what part of us fears change, what part is ready to be released. Life's purpose is not to make us comfortable, but to make us conscious. And consciousness cannot arise in comfort. So when life trembles and waves rise, do not rush to curse the storm. Ask yourself, what is this change trying to show me? It may be that within this very turbulence, you will discover new strength, new direction, and a new version of yourself, wiser, freer, more alive. For in the end, every disruption is an arrangement of the universe's wisdom designed to awaken the seed of enlightenment within us. When everything seems to fall apart, we often think we have gone astray. Yet in Buddhism, no path is truly wrong. There is only Dharma, the invisible order of the universe operating in perfect harmony, even when we cannot yet see it. Dharma is not a mystical force, but the natural law that governs all life, where everything happens with the right person at the right time in the right circumstance to teach us what we most need to learn. Every event, whether calm or chaotic, is part of the great symphony that life is playing. We suffer not because life is meaningless, but because we demand it follow our plan. Look at nature. Seasons never bloom out of rhythm. Rivers do not struggle to flow. Trees never rush to grow. All follow a flawless cadence. Only humans forget that rhythm. We want flowers to bloom soon or rain, to stop on command, everything to obey our designs, and in that resistance we drift away from Dharma's flow. Life never opposes us. It is we who swim against its current. The Buddha once told of a man caught in a storm at sea. He fought the waves desperately. The more he struggled, the deeper he sank. Only when exhausted and surrendering did he realize that the very current he feared was carrying him toward shore. So it is with life. When we stop resisting, it begins to carry us where we are meant to go. Trusting Dharma does not mean doing nothing. It means acting with awareness without attachment. Do your best, but know that results belong to conditions. When something leaves, it is because its role in your growth is complete. When challenges arrive, they are signs that you are being adjusted to align with your true path. We often resent delays when plans fail, yet the Buddha taught that every delay carries perfect timing. No one can make the sun rise earlier, nor force a flower to bloom before its day. Everything unfolds in its precise sacred moment. When we learn to trust that natural rhythm, anxiety softens, resistance fades, and we begin to see the beauty of this invisible order. Dharma teaches that no failure is meaningless, no loss is wasted. Every experience is a necessary step in the evolution of consciousness. Each being has a unique path. None can be compared, for none are the same. Walk your path with awareness, and every step is in the right direction. And when you truly understand this, fear of the future disappears because you know the universe has never missed a single beat. From a young age, we are taught that to be happy, we must take control of our lives. Plan carefully, set goals, work hard, and if we do well enough, everything will go our way. Yet life eventually teaches us a different lesson. Control is an illusion. No matter how cautious we are, there will always be things that slip through our fingers, the stable job that suddenly disappears, the trusted person who walks away, the perfect plan that collapses in a single day. And when that happens, the mind panics, because it believes that certainty is the foundation of safety. But Buddhism teaches that the only true certainty is impermanence. Everything changes moment by moment, and real suffering begins the instant we resist that truth. There is an old story of a king who once asked his 3 ministers, "Why is human life so unpredictable?" One said it was luck, another said it was karma, but the third remained silent and led the king to a riverbank. He invited the king to try to stop the flowing water with his hands. The king tried with all his might, but the water still slipped through his fingers and kept on moving. The minister smiled and said, "Your Majesty, life is like this river. No matter how powerful one is, one cannot make the water stop flowing. One can only learn to swim with it. That is the art of flowing with life. To release control does not mean to give up or surrender passively. It means to act wholeheartedly, then accept the result with a peaceful mind. Like a sailor who cannot control the wind but can adjust the sail when we stop forcing life, we begin to move with it rather than against it. And in that moment, we find the freedom we have long tried to grasp through control. Buddhism calls this spirit wu-wei, not doing nothing, but acting in harmony with nature without force, attachment, or struggle. To act from clarity, not fear. When we live this way, we realize that life has always been unfolding with or without our worry, and often the best things arrive only when we stop trying to control them. Remember, no one can command the river, but anyone can learn to glide within it. All anxiety and fear dissolve when we trust the natural flow of life. When you do your best and then let go of the outcome, you lose nothing. You simply return life's perfection to its own timing. Fear does not come from what is happening, but from the thought that we should or can control everything. When life suddenly shifts course, when what we relied upon falls apart, the mind panics not because of the event, but because it has lost its illusion of control. Yet the truth is, we never had control to begin with. We only held on to that illusion to feel safe. Letting go is not weakness. It is the bravest act, for it requires facing the truth. Life is uncertain, and within that uncertainty, wisdom is born. Imagine you are adrift at sea. When the waves rise, instinct makes you tense up and resist the water. But the more you struggle, the faster you sink. Only when you relax and allow yourself to float does the current lift you to the surface. Life is the same. No one can control the waves. We can only learn how to float within them. Buddhism teaches that the root of fear is attachment, the grasping for things to stay the same. When we cling, we suffer. When we release, the mind is free. Many believe that letting go means losing, but in truth, it means triumphing over the ego. For the ego always wants to dominate, to possess, to know what will happen next. But within the flow of Dharma, certainty does not exist, only trust. Trust in the process, trust in yourself, trust that the universe never acts without purpose. Look back at your life. How many times did you think you had lost everything, only to discover something better awaited? How many failures led you to truer paths? That is, life at work even when unseen. Letting go of control does not mean sitting idly by. It means acting from peace, not fear. Do your best then, let things unfold as they must. When you stop forcing life to follow your script, you begin to feel the serenity of someone who is truly alive, someone who understands that even without all the answers, it is still possible to be at peace in every step. The Buddha taught, "The one who can let go is the strongest." For only those who trust deeply dare to release their grip on the wheel and allow life to guide them where they need to be. And paradoxically, when we stop trying to control everything, fear fades, the heart softens, and the mind opens. Then we begin to live fully in the present, with no past to regret, no future, to fear only a single luminous moment of peace, called inner freedom. No one escapes uncertainty. Today may be calm, tomorrow a storm. One moment you feel steady, the next everything shifts. What humans fear most is not pain itself, but not knowing what comes next. Yet Buddhism teaches that peace does not come from eliminating uncertainty, but from learning how to live with it. Imagine yourself sitting in a small boat in the middle of the ocean. The waves rise, the wind howls, and instinct tells you to fight the sea to control the water's surface. But the harder you resist, the more exhausted you become. Then, when you loosen your grip on the oars, relax your shoulders and allow your body to drift with the current, something miraculous happens. You realize the ocean was never your enemy. It has always been moving in its own rhythm, and your task is not to still the waves, but to learn how to move through them without being swallowed. Life is the same. You do not need to control every tide, only to keep your mind still amid the flow. There is a Buddhist story about an old monk who lived on a mountain. One day a man ran up to warn him, "Master, a great storm is coming. You must leave the mountain now, or you will be in danger." The monk smiled and said, "If the storm comes, I will welcome the storm." Shocked, the man shouted, "But you might die," the monk replied. "If death comes, I will welcome death. If life comes, I will welcome life. Whatever comes, I receive it." His words seemed simple, yet they revealed the peak of inner wisdom, a mind unshaken by the world's constant change. To live with uncertainty is not to resign or drift aimlessly, but to understand that life has no winners or losers. The weak are struck down by the waves because they resist them. The strong ride the waves because they flow with them. True strength lies not in control, but in the ability to let go at the right time. When you stop worrying about tomorrow, you finally see today. When you stop asking what will happen, you begin to ask, how am I living right now? Uncertainty ceases to be a threat and becomes an invitation to awaken. It teaches you to trust your capacity, to adapt, to trust the flow, and to trust that no matter how fierce the waves, the ocean remains vast and still at its depths. So learn to be like the monk who welcomed the storm, not because you disregard the wind, but because you understand that every storm passes. What remains is not the damage, but the steadiness of the heart. When you can smile in the midst of great winds, that is when you have found a strength nothing in the world can shake. Awakening is not reaching a state of perfection. It is learning to be fully present in every moment, whether that moment is joy or pain. Buddhism teaches that enlightenment is not found at the destination, but in the way we walk the path. Every breath, every thought, every small action is a form of meditation. When your mind truly rests here in this very moment, life becomes clear, no longer haunted by the past, no longer trembling before the future. You see things as they are without adding or subtracting, and in that seeing, wisdom arises. Yet mindfulness cannot exist without compassion, for when we truly see the impermanence of life, we stop judging others. We realize that everyone is struggling with their own fears, that everyone has been lost, mistaken, or hurt. Compassion is not pity. It is the deep understanding that says, I have been there too. When we open our hearts to the suffering of others, we heal ourselves at the same time. Compassion is the antidote to anger and division. Only an open heart can travel far along the path of awakening. And the third pillar, the foundation of all trust in the journey. To trust means believing that every step, however uneven, holds meaning. Believing that there is an order at work behind what we do not yet understand. When we trust, we fear less. When we fear less, we are more at peace, and in peace we act with greater clarity. Faith here is not blind belief, but trust born of experience. You have survived difficulties you once thought impossible. You have been hurt, yet you are still here. That is proof of the strength within you, the strength you have simply forgotten. Presence, compassion, and trust, these three pillars form the path of return. Not a return to a place, but a return to yourself, peaceful, steady, and clear. Life will still change. Loss will still come, but your heart will no longer be swept away. For when you are truly present, when you love, and when you trust the unfolding of the path, every unease becomes a lesson, every storm becomes a teacher. And that is the deepest meaning of enlightenment, not to escape life, but to live fully within it, with a mind that no longer fears. Every event in life is not random, but a message wrapped in the form of a challenge. When we are still enough to listen, patient enough to observe, we realize that no tear is wasted and no wound is meaningless. Each becomes a silent brick, building our inner wisdom and compassion. The path of enlightenment does not promise a life free of suffering. It teaches us how to walk through suffering without losing peace. That is when we understand every loss is simply another form of growth. Every ending is but a new beginning in disguise. If you are moving through a difficult time, remember, nothing is meaningless. Everything you are experiencing is shaping a part of your soul that once lay dormant. Trust that even when life seems to push you into darkness, it is in that very darkness that light is being nourished. You do not need to understand everything. You only need to keep walking with faith and awareness. One mindful breath, one gentle thought, one kind act, that is wisdom already in bloom. And if the teachings from this journey have touched your heart, let this be an invitation to build together a community of awakening, a place where stories are not told to boast, but to illuminate, a space where wounds can be shared without fear of judgment, where compassion is cultivated and wisdom is multiplied. Share your lessons, your experiences, the struggles you have overcome for. Perhaps your story will be the lantern guiding someone still lost in the night. In this noisy world, the stillness of a centered soul is the most precious gift. Let us keep that light burning, so that anyone who comes here, whether burdened or uncertain, may find one thing: faith in the path and a return to themselves. Thank you for journeying all the way here. Take a deep breath, smile softly, and move forward, unhurried, unafraid, fully present with every sacred breath of this wondrous life.